Hi everyone, Father Wes here, and today we're going to be doing another one of our sessions. I'm going to interview, in fact, I have him right here with me on the other side of the video, Tyler Huber, a seminarian for the Diocese of Indianapolis. And the reason I know Tyler is because he went to school with me. He went to St. Meinrad, still goes to St. Meinrad, I went there. But things have been a little bit weird for him, obviously. A lot of the guys have left. We'll talk about that in just a second. First of all, Tyler, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the normal routine is like at seminary and how things have changed for you?
Yeah. So like Father Ross said, my name is Tyler Huber. I'm in my third year at St. Meinrad. I'm in first theology. I'm studying for the Archdiocese of Indianapolis. I grew up like an hour from St. Meinrad. And the typical day-to-day, every day is a little different, but like the norm of like a weekday at Meinrad at least is you go to morning prayer at 8 o'clock where we all pray together, one of the liturgy of the hours. And then breakfast is before or after that. Class runs from 8:30 to 11 basically. We have mass at 11:30. And then after mass, we have lunch and we have kind of the afternoon open for classes or for meetings. We'll get back together for evening prayer at 5 with dinner. And typically there's just a lot going on and there's 125 students on the hill. About a month and a half ago, I guess, they made the announcement that the formation year was over. And they gave the option, St. Meinrad was very generous to us, and they gave us the option to stay or go, telling us that if we stay, life will be very different. We'll live a quarantine lifestyle where we aren't leaving the hill. We're staying on the hill we're staying on campus at all times, so we don't go out and get exposed to the virus, as we have some older monks.
Sorry, I don't mean to stop you, but I'm going to. But when you were talking about, so Father Dennis, the rector there, announces that this is going to be happening. What was that like to hear that?
That was a crazy couple of days. So the virus started spreading and people were hearing about it on the news, and St. Meinrad was like holding on hope because our situation is a little unique. We're in the way out in the countryside. We're far from big cities. There's not a lot of people, even with the people coming to and from campus, there's not a lot of exposure. So we were trying to hold on hope for a couple days, and then it was the night of priesthood promises. It should be a night of like joyous celebration. They announced at the dinner, like there's no more visitors on the hill this weekend. Everything's been canceled. Retreats are being canceled. We're going to continue to have class. So everyone's like, what does that mean? And a couple of days later, they got the whole community together. Everyone that works on the hill, the students, everything, we all got together for one big meeting, and they announced that the formation year was over. And it was just like that. And starting the next day, people could leave to go home. And that was shocking. Shocking, but ended up being a pretty amazing experience. A lot of other seminaries seem to just send their guys home and sent out like an email saying like, pack up and go. Like, we're in a city, we need to go home. And it was just kind of like that. At St. Meinrad, they gathered us together. They told us what was going to happen. They told us that we had options of staying. And then they said, but regardless, you're not leaving till tomorrow. And some people are like, why aren't we leaving now? That rest of the day, we had mass all together with the community, with like the cooks, with housekeeping, whoever could come, whoever wanted to come, went to mass with us, with the seminarians. And it was just an incredible experience. And then that evening, we kind of had like a quasi banquet, just thanking the deacons, because just like seniors in college and seniors in high school that planned like months of goodbyes and like had these like kind of rituals, in place of like just saying goodbye, graduation, dinners, banquets, all of that was gone.
That must have been really hard because when I was there last year, I remember the last couple of months before I went there, and I remember just one day, like I had to do a lot of things to kind of prepare myself. One day in particular, I remember just sitting in the hallway and just kind of looking down the hallway and reflecting. And some guys were walking by being like, is everything okay? Like, what's wrong with you? But yeah, just to be able to, yeah, to go from an ordinary work week, or like the week before, everything's just normal. And then just like that, the school year ends. And like you said, some people that you've built friendships with over several years, and people that have led the community in that capacity, just all of a sudden are done and they
Yeah,
leave. It's a next chapter of their life, and that's good, but it's still kind of a weird disruption into the life of the community.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I guess what I was getting at was just St. Meinrad. It made me so proud to be a son of St. Meinrad, because you just saw the love of not only the seminarian community, but the extended community that works with us. You could feel the love in the chapel at Mass. We all had lunch together. Some of the faculty at that point started to leave, but the students were still there for that night. And that night, like the banquet, after the banquet, it wasn't like the 2 months that we would have had, but we were able to kind of give the deacons a send off, especially since a lot of them, most of the deacons that at least weren't international guys went home as soon as they could, because they didn't know what travel bans were going to hit and they had to get home. And they were going home to uncertainty. Like some of them have been ordained in empty churches. Some of our newly ordained deacons have been ordained in empty churches, and then some other guys have gotten their ordinations pushed back. So I think we all needed that, like not just the people to say goodbye to the deacons and the deacons to say goodbye to us, but just for the deacons to have hope for the uncertainty that they were about to meet. And then also just like motivation to go home. And, Father Dennis was like, told us at our meeting, like, go home and get ordained. Like, your people need you now. Don't worry about like just the ordinations will figure themselves out. They might be in empty churches, but you can start preaching. You can go into hospitals and give the last rites. Like, just go home and serve your people if you have the opportunity.
Right.
So, yeah.
Definitely a powerful message there, and kind of reflecting on what really matters. Because I think just like a wedding, guys kind of have these ideas of this is going to be great. I'm going to be able to be there with family and friends. I'm going to be able to have all these celebrations and stuff. But right now, it's hard to do that. And so the importance is, like you said, just to be there for the people. So going back to like, how have things changed? So the deacons leave, you have some people left behind. What has that been like so far over the past few weeks?
Yeah, so we had a decent chunk of the students stay, and then about 10 priests decide to stay on the seminary side. So we have a monastery, we have a seminary. Some of the monks are older, and so we didn't want the two communities to mix, just in case it did somehow get in the seminary side. Hopefully it stays in the younger guys, and it's not as much of a threat towards the older monks that would catch the virus if that happened. So we've been staying completely separate. 10 monks, like I said, 10 priests, like I said, stayed on our side. So we've had the huge blessing of having Mass. So our schedule today is like nothing like what it was before. So our schedule now is we have Mass at 11:30, we have adoration at 4, and that's it. We have 3 meals, but even at meals, we're like sitting pretty far apart from each other than normal with like spaced out chairs and stuff. So it's just a constant reminder of what's going on, even though it's almost, you can almost forget just because it's such, we're just cut off from the world. It's like one of the monks here compared it to like his first year of entering the monastery as his novitiate when he wasn't allowed to go anywhere. So the norm is you wake up, we have quiet time in the morning to try to do homework, in the afternoon to try to do homework, and then we have Mass and adoration. And so there's a real opportunity and a real challenge by the priests to us seminarians of spend this time together. Like in the evenings, we'll get together for a board game or we'll get together for a movie to keep each other's spirits high and keep going, but also spend your time praying for your people. So I know seminarians that have been like reaching out to people back home more than normal. People have been making phone calls. People have been texting people, especially during Holy Week, and asking for people's petitions because we have a tabernacle to go pray in front of that a lot of people are longing for right now. So I think it really was painful for me to say goodbye to my ministry without really being able to say goodbye. I was on a college campus this year and I was loving it. But to be able to pray for those college students, to be able to pray for people back home in front of the tabernacle in just a very sincere way, in a very intentional way, has been, I guess, building up the intercessional part of my ministry. It's been an interesting experience. It's been an interesting experience.
Intercessory. Is it intercession? I don't know how to say it.
I don't know.
It's a weird word. Probably. So, but I was going to say, the other thing is, and because I watched some of the live stream or some of the tape stuff that they had later after they live streamed it, you guys obviously were there for the Easter vigil, for the Triduum.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? I mean, that would be kind of a cool experience to be there for that, because I'm sure they did a great job with it.
Yeah, so it was funny because this year I for some reason I had the thought in the fall, it would be so cool to stay here with the monks for one Holy Week, but I'm never going to get that opportunity because I'm going to be busy in my home parish, and then once I get ordained, you're ordained and you do your own parish, you know. So then I got that opportunity this year, and it's a little different because we didn't get to do the monastic side of the community, but we still had it here. We had all the liturgies. We even added a Friday night burial service liturgy from the Byzantine Rite, which Father Dennis was excited about. And it was...
I watched that. That was a lot of timpani.
Yeah, a lot of timpani. And it was an experience I will never forget. We put in a lot of hours for the Scola, and we tried to live stream some of the liturgies to let people like hear a Scola during Holy Week, because a lot of churches don't have a choir right now. So just a very intense week, a week with a guy spending a lot of hours in the chapel. Like I said, people knowing that other people don't have that opportunity, and it's an experience I'll never forget. But I remember in the middle of the vigil, after cantering for the first time and after I got done being nervous, and then all the readings and everything went through, we got to the gospel, we got to the homily, and it just hit me like, I'm not home. Like, we're not baptizing anyone. And there was a real sadness that came with that. But I've been praying for the catechumens for my home parish. Like, I don't know, we just had to find ways to offer it up and to carry the crosses of others during that week in a way that I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I think it's difficult for everyone, for sure, and a lot of people just being away from, again, like we were talking about earlier, from that possibility of even being at the vigil. I just, it was my first vigil, obviously, as a priest, and that was bizarre. It was just me, and we did not videotape anything there. So yeah, it was just me and a couple others, and just a very, small experience, but also, and I was listening to Father Dennis when he was preaching, the rector again, the guy kind of in charge of the seminary, when he was preaching his homily, and that kind of resonated with me, as he said that the grace of that night, the grace of that experience flows over despite things being locked up and stuff, that God still provides, and things still go forward. And so it's cool, nonetheless, despite it being a weird experience, that you got to experience that kind of unique situation this year, and obviously something I'm sure you'll never forget. And so, despite kind of these difficulties, would you say that there's been any blessings throughout this entire thing so far, being kind of cut off and being in the situation that you're in right now?
Yeah, there's been many blessings. Where do I start? Like I said, the whole send-off, the way that St. Meinrad was very intentional about giving the guys that were leaving for good, just trying to ritualize it somehow for them just to say goodbye. That was a blessing. It made me just realize how great of friendships I had made after 3 years in seminary. And then with all those guys leaving, staying here, if the guys that stayed, I'm friends with a lot of them, and I know obviously all of them, like we go to school together, but I don't get to spend a lot of time with a lot of these guys, and now I am. I'm going out and playing soccer with guys I've never played soccer with. We're playing board games, and I've never played board games with some of these guys. Even the priests are jumping in, like Father Christian's constantly playing games with us. So that's been really awesome to be able to just form new friendships, to be able to spend more time with different people. Another blessing, like I said, is just really being able to pray for people and making that an intentional part of my life, or really being able to spend more time catching up with people that I haven't caught up with for a while, and just letting them know, like, people are praying for you. Like, God is still working in your life, trying to be a beacon of his light. One awesome thing that happened during Holy Week that was a very tangible or noticeable sign was we had a really rough storm, I think Wednesday.
Yes,
And
you did. I think some guys called me about that, and I showed them the radar and stuff.
Yeah. So Wednesday, we've had like a couple of tornado warnings already the last couple of weeks. It's been crazy. But Wednesday we had a big storm. I was walking around after dinner Thursday before we had the year before or after we had the Holy Thursday Mass. But anyways, I passed a grounds crew guy driving with his family. He stopped the car and rolled down his window and said, "You need to go check out the Marian Shrine." So I walked up to one of our two Marian shrines outside. It's the one on top of the hill, kind of by like the White Raven House and the Stations of the Cross. A massive, huge pine tree, evergreen tree, some pine tree, I think, fell during the storm on Wednesday. Massive. And completely, the whole thing just directly hit. Nothing. It was right at the shrine.
That would have been unfortunate if that's the day that so you were there when it happened?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. If it wasn't coronavirus, it could have been you being underneath that tree, but thankfully you saw it.
So it hit, so this tree fell, and then it was so heavy that the top half, or probably maybe even 2/3 of the tree, broke as soon as after it hit the shrine, broke and fell to the ground and took off probably 2 or 3 more trees past the shrine, knocked over more trees. And the rest of the tree is resting on top of the shrine, and the statue of Our Lady is untouched. I think the shrine should have crumbled, but nothing happened to it. It was unbelievable. So that was pretty cool. That was okay, in the storms of life and all of this craziness going on with the pandemic, Our Lady is going to protect us. That was a very awesome part of this year's Holy Week. And we would have all been home and no one would have seen that if we, in a normal year, because the tree's already cut up. And one of the students, Paul, he wanted to keep the tree on the shrine forever, but I think they already, I went and checked it out the other day and it was already gone. So.
Oh, shoot. I think, like you said, so in the midst of all this, there's still kind of blessings, and sometimes you don't even see them now. And, for people that might be watching this, there might be things going on at your house that you'd rather not be there for, or whatever the case might be. But, trusting in God and hoping that maybe some good will ultimately come out of what we've been experiencing. Are you ready to go home?
Yes and no. I'm ready to be back in a parish. I'm really missing, I'm sure just like so many other people, I'm really missing just being with the people that I love, and I know that I'm getting a parish assignment this summer. I just found out where I'm going up near Indianapolis, and I'm ready to meet a new part of our diocese. I'm ready to meet more of our people, and I'm ready to pray with them and for them. So as many blessings are happening here, and there are lots of good things happening here, I cannot complain about my situation here. In 2.5 weeks, when I get done with school, I will be more than ready to get into a parish and just be able to do ministry again in whatever kind of form that is. I'm sure it will be limited in May and June, but hopefully masses can start happening again.
Exactly. Yeah, we're all praying for that. Well, I think that's all the time we have, AKA I got to go. I got to do something else. But thanks, Tyler, for joining me today. And good luck with the rest of the school year. Hopefully you get all your work done. You got maybe a little bit more free time to do that. So that's good.
Thank you.
But God bless and good luck.
Thank you, Father Ross. God bless you as well.
Yep.